and I'm going to actually pull up the definition of what is called horizontal gene transfer. On definition, I'm going to read it to you because that's going to help me prove my bill. Now, first of all, what we must understand is what science proves, show force and proves is, and you can go right now and Google this. If you are not of African descent, anybody not of African descent is a Neanderthal. 96%, anybody other than the African race is only 96% human being, and they are 4% Neanderthal. Now, this is important because this is where you show the distinction of the bloodline and who comes from what. We all know that everybody comes from the black race, but where does the black race come from? I'm going to show forth and prove right now. Now, this is important because black people are the only human beings. Then that means in the science books, when white people say we're all mammals, no, you're a mammal. I'm not no damn mammal. I'm a human being. I'm a god. I have the genetic makeup of a god. My ancestors are not from this galaxy. So I'm about to show forth and prove this right now. You're a mammal. You're an animal. You're born with the tail due to rhesus monkey blood, Rh positive blood, and you're the one who's extra hairy. I'm not. Most black people, melanated beings, the more melanated beings, we're not that hairy. So you're the mammal. I'm not the damn mammal. Now, with that being said, let's begin. We want to talk about blood types first. Let's just say there's 8 blood types. And we're going to classify. They're classified as O blood type, A blood type, B blood type, and AB blood type. So you have O, A, B, and then AB together. Now, those are 4 I just named, but they become 8 because you have negative and positive. So you have O negative, and then you have O positive. That's 2. And then you have A negative, and then A positive. That's 4. And then you have B negative, and you have B positive. That's 6. And then you have AB negative, and you have AB positive. That's 8. So each alleged blood type, as the European has conceptualized it, is either negative or positive. Now, before I get into what these mean, I want to say that, well, you go look up the blood type chart. Caucasians have remixed the statistics and placed themselves in the place of black people and put black people in their place. And they have these false statistics talking about 85% of African American, the Rh positive, and white people have the O blood type. And most of us are AB, Rh positive for AB blood, and they're the ones with the O negative and all kind of crazy statistics. No, we are the O negative blood type. Negative means you tested negative for rhesus monkey blood. But with that being said, negative behind the letter of the blood type means your blood type and you being negative for monkey blood. But positive means you have monkey blood. Monkey blood comes from exactly what it sounds like, mixing blood cells and semen. And when the Caucasian was in the caves, fornicating and having sex with dogs and monkeys, he mixed semen and blood and became infected with rhesus monkey blood. So now, and this is a exclusively European trait, and 90% of Europeans have rhesus monkey blood. And when you have sex with, when a Rh negative person has mixes semen with the Rh positive person, the Rh positive person being a person infected with rhesus monkey blood, actually the Rh positive person, their rhesus blood, monkey blood, gets to breaking down the protein in the blood of the Rh negative person, so they actually are infecting you by you impregnating yourself by them. Now, this shows and proves that at one point in time, nobody had on the planet had rhesus monkey. Nobody. It was impossible to test positive for rhesus monkey blood. This is new. So the original bloodline, which was pure, comes from O negative. So therefore, the Anunnaki bloodline is exclusively a O blood type. And you can Google this right now. Even science will confirm. They call it the mystery of the O blood type. And they link it to the Anunnaki. He said white people put they're trying to put their face on there, and it's really our face. So white people have, due to them being in the Caucasus Mountain, tainted their bloodlines, and then come back and they taint our bloodline. And this is why our ancestors went so high with not breeding and having sex with white people, because they taint your bloodline. Now, I'll come back to this in a minute. But now that we know the bloodline, now we can trace the distinctions of the O bloodline, of the O type bloodline, trace them to the Anunnaki right now. Now, first and foremost, what I want to do is I want to read this definition called horizontal gene transfer. I'm pulling it up right now. Now, according to Google, horizontal gene transfer says, what is horizontal gene transfer? Natural genetic transformation is believed to be the essential mechanism for the attainment of genetic plasticity in many species of bacteria. During bacterial evolution, the ability of bacteria and archaea to adapt to new environments most often results from the acquisition of new genes through horizontal transfer rather than by the alternation of gene functions through numerous point mutations. Horizontal gene transfer is defined to be the movement of genetic material between bacteria other than by descent in which information travels through the generations as the cell divides. It is most often thought of as a sexual process that requires a mechanism for the mobilization of chromosomal DNA among bacterial cells. However, because they are unable to reproduce sexually, bacterial species have acquired several mechanisms by which to exchange genetic materials. Now, here are 3 of the mechanisms I'm finna read. The first mechanism is transformation. The uptake of naked DNA is a common mode of horizontal gene transfer that can mediate the exchange of any part of a chromosome. The process is most common in bacteria that are naturally transferable. Typically, only short DNA fragments are exchanged. 2. Conjunction. Conjunction is the transfer of DNA mediated by conjugal plasmids or conjugal transposons. Requires cell-to-cell contact, but can occur between distantly related bacteria, or even bacteria in eukaryotic cells can transfer long fragments of DNA. The third mechanism is called transduction. The transfer of DNA by phage requires the donor and recipient share cell surface receptors for phage binding, and thus is usually limited to closely related bacteria. The length of DNA transfer is limited by the size of the phage head. Now it says, each of these methods of genetic exchange can introduce sequences of DNA that share little homology with the remaining DNA of the recipient cell. If there are homologous sequences shared between the donor DNA and the recipient chromosome, the donor sequences can be stably incorporated into the recipient chromosome by genetic recombination. In the homologous sequences, flank sequences that are absent in the recipient may acquire an insertion from another strain of unrelated bacteria. Such insertions can be small or quite large. Large insertions that have been acquired from another bacterium, often inferred from differences in GC content or codon usage, and are absent from related strains of bacteria are called items. Now, this article goes on and on. I just wanted to give you all the definition of horizontal gene transfer. And if you need to rewind this tape or listen to it again, because it's going to be prevalent in what I'm about to say right now. Now, keep horizontal gene transfer in your mind. To break all that down in the latent terms, you inherit genes or receive genes from somebody else other than in a sexual manner. So basically through bacteria or through basically somebody else giving you their genes or injecting you with their genes other than in a sexual manner. So now with that being said, the Anunnaki blood type, once again, is O. Most black people are of an O blood type. Now, we were created by our black ancestors from the 19th galaxy, known as the Anunnaki, as, let's just say, a force to do labor in order to help them get gold to restore their atmosphere. In return, they would give us the knowledge and science of the universe, which we would use to build great civilizations such as Kemet and all these other great things that white people just can't never figure out how we built. So now with that being said, now 97, according to science today, 97% out of 100%, humans only 3% of our DNA's codons are unlocked. 97% are locked, which means somebody locked them. So when we were genetically created, when our bodies were genetically created from the Anunnaki, the African people, I'm talking to black people, why this shows and proves that they did not want us to access our full power as on the level as theirs for a certain amount of time, because right now, like I just said, 97% of the DNA is locked. We only use 3%. So somebody had to have locked these DNAs or were able to control this DNA in order to lock it, because surely this DNA did not lock itself. So now with 97% of the DNA being locked and only 3% being accessible, you have to use your intelligence to say, damn, well, who locked this DNA and why would they want to lock it? This coincides with the story that our ancestors tell, that a being or entity from the 19th galaxy known as the Anunnaki, the Elohim, and the Bible they're known as the fallen angels. This corresponds with that. They created us to help for us to mine gold, and then they would teach us. Because if they created us 100% like them, then there will be no need for us to teach us, because we will have the full capabilities of them. So now, with this being said, even though we do possess psychic and kinetic abilities and do have great abilities, is not to the extent of the Anunnaki, because all of our DNA is locked. But now it was only supposed to be locked for a certain amount of time. So now what's happening is, right now that we just came into the Aquarian age, actually the DNA codons of Black people is unraveling, and the DNA sequences are actually unlocking. So now, right now, we probably use way more than 3% of our DNA, and this is why Black people are waking up, and our melanin, our carbon 12, is actually remanifesting itself back into another form. So now what we're finna do is we're finna ascend. We're finna transcend the physical realm, and we're finna go from the 3rd dimension to the 5th dimension, and all this locked DNA that Black people have are actually unlocking right now. And this is why white people go so hard to try to kill us. This is why they poison the water, like they put fluoride in the water, because fluoride calcifies your pineal gland, and the pineal gland is what helps you use your kinetic abilities. So you think white people just don't know the science about us or know who we are? Are they trying to calcify our pineal glands on accident? This is a deliberate attack. This is a deliberate attack. This is just one of the many attacks. But moving on, before I get off subject, so now I have just connected the blood type with the Anunnaki and showed you why the DNA was locked for a certain period. Now, it was locked due to other reasons, and that's what we were going through, a universal karma, and we weren't allowed to be fully at our power for a certain reason, because we had to go through a certain amount of spiritual evolution to become humble enough and responsible enough to harness our powers once given back to us. But outside of that, now, further proving my point, now I just talked about 97% of the DNA is locked and only 3% we use, right? Well, in this, because we know that the DNA is held within the gene. Well, the body is made up of 20,000 to 25,000 genes. Well, my number from personal research, I got 224 genes. But just according to Google, you can Google it. According to Google, 145 of those genes are exactly, quote, Google says, alien genes, foreign to this planet. So what the hell is we doing with foreign genes inside of our DNA that didn't come from this planet? And then whose genes is Google talking about? Because we know that Kim means black, and the street means the study of black. Chemistry means the study of black melanin, dark matter. So we know that white people make a living studying us on a daily basis. And this is how they are able to even create medicines or drugs to target Black people, because they study us on a daily, which means they have been studying our DNA and have found that we have, according to them, 145 foreign alien genes in our DNA. So where did these alien genes come from? Horizontal gene transfer. HGT, which I just said, if you got to rewind it and go see the definition. Now, why is this important? Because I just showed and proved that Black people genes have been influenced. We have been given bacteria from another species in order to influence our species in a positive way. And white people admit this and will never teach you this. And their bloodline is tainted due to 90% of the Caucasians being Rh positive, for rhesus monkey blood. So now, I just showed and proved that, according to science, somebody locked our DNA, and somebody is responsible for us having, I say 224, white people say 145. So let's go with them. Let's go with their words. 145 foreign DNA codons in our genes. Where did this come from? So out of 20,000 to 25,000 genes that the body is that is composed in the body, 145 of them are from our extraterrestrial, our alien, according to your words, white man. So this helps me show forth and prove my point that Black people are divine descendants of the Anunnaki. But I ain't done. Now we want to go into parthenogenesis. You got a lot of fools on my stack who don't understand parthenogenesis. They want to say, oh, parthenogenesis is in birds and is in reptiles, is in amphibians, but it's not prominent in mammals. What you don't understand, fool, is you don't know yourself. You not no goddamn mammal. I'm not no mammal. I'm not Rh positive. I don't descend from, I'm not a Caucasian. I wasn't in the caves fornicating with mammals. I don't have a mammal bloodline. What are you talking about? I don't have Rhesus monkey blood. I am from descendants who have an old blood type, the Anunnaki. So of course, when you read a science book, it's not about you. It's about the Caucasian. Even the man, if you right now, if you open any science book and it says humans are such and such percent mammals, it's a white man on there. It's not a black man on there. And that's not a coincidence because they're not talking about you. So stop keep saying, oh, the black woman could have never performed parthenogenesis because she's a mammal. She's not no damn mammal. We were dinosaur DNA and reptilian DNA was used to help influence our creation. This is why we have webbed hands. What mammal you know has webbed hands? When your skin get dry, it looks scaly. I purposely let my hand get dry right here so you can see the little fake scale ripples. We have reptilian influence. Now you want to know what some reptilians do? Parthenogenesis, fool. You want to know what else? Most reptilians have a pineal gland. You can look this up. So, we perform parthenogenesis just like reptiles. We have pineal glands just like reptiles. And we have 145 alien genes. And most of our blood type is O. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you? That we're not no goddamn mammals. And our genetic influence will be more favored towards a reptile than anything. They even call this part of the brain the reptilian. They don't call it the damn camel or the damn dog. They call it the reptilian. So why would they do that? Why would they call the base part of the brain, which has to do with your physical makeup? The reptilian is physical, the mammalian deals with your emotional, and the neo-mammalian deals with your mental. So why would the physical part of your brain, why would they name that the reptilian? For just coincidence? Just to make this stuff up? So now, make sure I prove my points because I'm about to lighten y'all out. So now, show forth and improving that bloodline, where we come from, and where the white people tainted their bloodline, and why you shouldn't mix with them because their RH positive blood breaks down your RH negative blood, and that they remix the blood type proteins, and they got African Americans is this and we're not. They use the nationalities, false nationalities, and fictitious names they make up to categorize you, and then put your statistics on them. And if you don't believe me, you can look this up.